Half of my life I was fascinated with everything that has any connection to ghosts, demons, or everything creepy in general. I love bats. Cemeteries are a place of peace to me, and I love the smell of moist cellars as much as everything that could give me goosebumps. Naturally, at one point I came in contact with the occult. A friend of mine practiced alchemy and was very studied in summonings and demonology. I must have been around 15 or 16 when I received an urgent sounding call from her in the middle of the night.
You need to come over, I need you.
I didn't even ask her for a reason and went directly on my way. Luckily, she was living pretty close to me. When I reached her home, she was standing outside waiting for me already.
Thanks for coming. I got an urgent call from a girl from school. She said she played with an Ouija board and fucked up, and now they want me to help them. I don't trust this. They hate me, and if it's some kind of trap, I'd rather have someone with me.
I had no problem with that request at all. She did not have any friends at school. She got avoided, bullied, and already has fallen victim to a similar trap. I knew the people that have called her, and I also knew what they were capable of. To be prepared for everything that might happen, I put a jackknife in my pocket and she took a dog. If we would have ended up outnumbered, this dog would have been the ace up our sleeves. Together, we went to the caller's home. After we arrived, we took a deep breath and prepared ourselves for everything and anything that could have happened before ringing the bell. The door was torn open and we stood in front of 3 girls with pale faces, distorted with fear.
Thank God, you're here. Thank you so much.
Shouted the girl who lived in the house we entered. Slowly, looking into every direction, my friend asked them what's wrong. Whilst I was still thinking this might have been a trap, watching out for every possible scenario of an ambush, the girl frantically explained.
I have the place to myself since we are moving in a couple of days, and we decided to play with the Ouija board. At first, nothing happened at all, but then the blanket started moving on its own, and all the cupboards started opening and closing violently. The cutlery was flying through the room and everything. I believe we really did have summon a ghost.
Okay, 3 questions.
My friend answered in a cold voice.
Did you protect yourself with a proper ritual?
A what?
Answered the girl out of breath.
Okay, so that's a no. Secondly, have you asked for its name?
What? No!
We got as a reply.
Fine, last one. Did you finish the game? Did you say goodbye and put the glass underwater or destroyed it?
No, of course not. We bolted out of the room and called you. Do you really think we would have stayed in there or gone?
Yeah, okay. Okay, I think you did not summon a ghost, but a demon instead. From what I heard, you disturbed this entity, did not introduce yourself, asked it for something, and finally you did not even dismiss it. I'd be pissed at you too.
My friend told the girls that in order to get this demon out of the house, they needed to finish the game and properly dismiss this entity. As they heard they would have to go back into that room, they vehemently refused. It took some persuasion and the threat that my friend would leave to get them to comply. Apparently, there would not have been any other way to help them otherwise. I still wasn't convinced of all of this. But the dog, on the other hand, was very calm. This was calming to me as well. But as much as I wanted to believe this situation, to me it appeared far-fetched. And since these girls hated my friend, and all of a sudden called her of all people for help, I still thought of it as being too suspicious. After a short period of time in which the girls could gather up all their courage, I let them show me the way to the room in which they were playing. As I stood in front of the door, my friend's dog suddenly changed behavior. He growled at the door and nervously walked up and down in front of it. Something definitely was off. I immediately thought of this to be the place of the ambush, opened my jackknife and walked inside the room. The first thing that I felt was a blast of freezing cold air. There was only one small window which was densely fogged. The room itself looked chaotic. Everywhere laid broken dishes and glass. The cupboards were open and everywhere stood moving boxes. In the middle of the room were the Ouija board and the shot glass on top of a makeshift table built from stacked up moving boxes. Around it there were 3 chairs. Some more were placed at the wall in the corner. The shot glass was positioned at the word no on the Ouija board. What was the last question you asked this thing? I asked the girls.
I really don't remember. Can't we just leave again, please?
Don't you dare!
My friend barked at them.
If we don't finish this demon will stay, and who knows what will happen. Go to the table and sit down where you were seated before.
The dog could not be calmed anymore. He growled perpetually and showed aggressive behavior despite being calm and friendly before. My friend decided to bring the dog back to the living room and leave him there. When she returned, we took 2 chairs from the corner of the room and looked at the radiator. It was running on full force, but the room itself stayed freezing cold.
That was to be expected.
My friend murmured to us. We sat down with the girls at the makeshift table, and thus began the most frightening night of my life up to that point. Everyone placed their fingers on the shot glass, and my friend began speaking calmly.
Hello, my friend and I want to join the game. Would you give us your name, please?
Nothing happened.
My name is Christina, and yours?
Slowly, the shot glass began moving. With every small move, the girls shrieked and tears started running down their faces. They flinched out of fear and took their fingers off the glass, but put them back after my friend glared at them. Jerkily, and only for some millimeters at a time, but perpetually the glass moved. I was convinced one of them would just fuck with us and asked, "Okay, who of you guys is this?"
Shut up!
My friend silenced me immediately, whilst the glass slowly spelled the word Zekar.
Hello, Zekar. What are you?
My friend continued asking. Again, the glass started moving. D I A L. My friend seemed sort of relieved while everyone else was looking at each other pretty confused. What's that supposed to mean? Dial, I asked, trying to make sense of the word by thinking of its English equivalent.
No, a deer is a harmless type of demon. Well, more or less, unless that is.
The eyes of the 3 girls opened wide and one of them even started crying. I had to regain control of my facial expressions again as well.
It focuses more on destruction and mischief rather than death and annihilation. Nevertheless, we need to get rid of it. If its mood worsens, it might really get dangerous. Listen up, I will end this game now, and then I tell you what has to be done next. Okay, Zekar, it was very nice getting to know you. We want to thank you for your appearance, and now we release you back into your realm.
As soon as she ended that sentence, all hell broke loose. The cupboards began opening and closing violently. We startled up. One girl jumped out of a chair and pressed herself, crying out of panic against the other 2. The shot glass jumped to the word no and jittered back and forth there. Sometimes it even jumped a little, making the knocking of itself on the Ouija board a sign of the spirit's discontent. I got startled so much that my breath stopped and my heart jumped. I was never that scared in my whole life. My friend began to repeat her farewell more vigorously.
We invited you here, and now we say goodbye. Go!
But it was of no avail. The cupboard doors widely flung around and moving boxes started moving. The already filled ones just moved a few centimeters, but the empty ones were downright thrown across the room. Finally, my friend grabbed the shot glass, which up until that moment was still pointing to the word no. That moment, the Ouija board itself jumped a good 5 centimeters into the air. I don't know if I jumped out of a scare out of my chair, or if it was ripped away from under me. The only thing I know is that I landed pretty hard on the floor and watched my friend blow into the glass and throw it against the wall, shouting, "Go!"
Go!
The glass burst into millions of pieces, sending them flying all across the room. Everything calmed down again immediately. The cupboard door stopped moving and everything went quiet again. Out of breath, I stood up and tried to wrap my head around what I just witnessed. As I looked across the room, I saw my friend standing upright, all tensed up, listening for any sound or sign. My friend and I were unharmed, beside my back hurting a little bit from the hard fall I just took. The 3 girls, on the other hand, were plastered with glass shards. They had them on their clothes, in their hair, and even were cut on different spots where they were hit by the glass. Besides the girls' whimpers and me trying to catch my breath again, the room was dead silent. After a short moment, my friend relaxed again and ordered us to leave the room. The girls did not need a second invitation. They bolted out of the room as fast as they could. My friend took a necklace with a cross out of her pocket and began wrapping it around the lamp. Together, we left the room and closed the door behind us. We walked into the adjacent living room, where she glared sternly at the scared, pale girls.
Never do this again. You were lucky today, but next time you might not. It's important to keep all doors closed for now. Especially the one to this room. Got it? Leave everything as it is until tomorrow. No one enters this room until noon of tomorrow. After that, you can clean up the mess, but until then, this room is strictly taboo. Do you understand?
The girls shakingly nodded. My friend leashed the dog again and went with him to the door to see how he would react. This time, the dog remained calm. She turned to me and with a slight move of her head, she let me understand that we would leave now.
We are done here,
she said. I turned around and walked to the front door. As I opened it, I turned to the girls again and mentioned, "You know, from now on you should really consider being more friendly to her, at least in appreciation of today." I tried to be bold and fearless on the outside through all of this, but within, I was just as disturbed and scared as these three girls. When the door closed behind us, I looked at my friend, shook my head in disbelief and asked her, "What the fuck did just happen?" She kept a straight stare into the night, wrapped the dog's leash around her wrist, lighted up a cigarette and answered calmly,
What happens every time people let themselves in for things they really should stay away from? Or do you think it was purely coincidental that all the glass shots only hit and cut the girls?
I did not ask her again about this whole event. We never forgot this night though, and sometimes we still chat about what happened. A few years later she stopped actively taking part in seances and summonings, but my fascination with this stayed. And this night seemed to have only marked the beginning of my journey.